Swimming is most commonly the part of a triathlon that people find the most daunting or struggle to get to grips with, especially if you haven't grown up swimming from a child. If you've come to it later in life, like I have, and pretty much taught yourself to swim, it can be pretty challenging. There's a lot of technique, there's open water, there's pool swims, there's a lot of things to get your head around. Today we're going to be talking about the most common swim mistakes that people make, so hopefully you don't make them. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
As Emily mentioned, swimming is the most technical of the swimming, the cycling and the running. You can be super fit and go nowhere swimming, you really can. On the bike, the fitter you are, the stronger you are, the faster you go. So there are so many small mistakes that you could be making that we're gonna help you get through and improve your technique, because technique is everything when it comes to swimming. There's no such thing as a perfect swim stroke. Whether you're Jessica Learmonth, Georgia Taylor Brown, Alex Yee, or it's your first triathlon, everyone is always working on their technique. Everyone is always putting in some drills, some technical work in every swim session they do.
I think consistency is key throughout all elements of training, but definitely when it comes to swimming, it's about getting in that pool, staying consistent and working on your weaknesses.
One of the mistakes in swimming is a bad body position. It's when your hips drop, therefore your legs drop, and you go through the water very much like this. And you don't want to do that, because that means there's going to be more water pushing on your body, which is going to slow you down. And then you get that catch-22 where you try and speed your arms up to go faster, but it's not improving your body position. You want your body position to be right on top of the water.
I know I really struggle with this, my legs sink. So what would you say is your biggest piece of advice for people like me who do have issues with this?
I think with bad body position, one of the big things is your head position. Lots of people have their head up, and as your head comes up, it drops your hips and then your legs follow. So really you need to be looking 45 degrees in front of you, looking down there, not looking in line with the water. Another thing that can really help your body position is by really activating that core, really turning those muscles on, because that's going to bring your hips up and again help you have a better body position.
I've definitely noticed when it's been an open water swim and I've got a wetsuit on, I find that much easier. Is that something to do with the buoyancy in my hips with the wetsuit?
Absolutely. As we say, you've got two things when you swim: go forward and keep buoyant. These days, wetsuits are so buoyant. In fact, you can buy different wetsuits for different styles of swimming. You can get wetsuits that have thicker neoprene on the legs to make you more buoyant. If you kick a lot, you don't want to be buoyant because you want them to sit so they can grab the water. So definitely, wetsuit choice is really important.
Another really common swim mistake that we see so many times, especially with people who are new to swimming, which is kind of crazy as well because it is something that we do hundreds of thousands of times a day, it is breathing. I think the issue is we get in the water, we take one big deep breath before we go in, and then all of a sudden we're gasping for breath and we feel really panicked, like we need to come straight out the water and take more breaths. From what I understand, we need to be letting the air out really nice and slowly underwater to kind of eliminate that panic.
That's right. I think we can get very uptight by taking big breaths in and then holding our breath while our head's into the water, then come up and gasping for air. It's really important to take that big air in, and then as you're swimming, 2-3 strokes, slowly exhale. It will keep you calmer and more relaxed, and by doing that you will swim quicker, which all of these tips are going to be doing.
A lot of people as well, I think when you first start swimming, we're taught to swim bilaterally, which means each side, but that doesn't mean you have to do that, does it? And if people get so caught up with trying to swim both sides, that can also ignite that panic. So it's about finding a rhythm that feels natural to you.
Swimming is such a technical sport that there's no perfect swim stroke. So I like to breathe to my left, but when I'm training, I breathe bilateral. But if I was racing, I'd always start to the right. So when I look to my left, I can see all my competitors. Swimming open water as well. It's sometimes nice to swim bilateral, so you breathe to the left and the right because you've got lots of people around you. But I think the key is that slow exhale, sucking the oxygen in, slow exhale, and it will help get rid of anxiety, but you've got to practice this in training. Even simple things like taking a big breath in, sitting at the bottom and slowly letting your air out, as opposed to and really nice and calm.
For me, this was also similar to running. When you first start running, people really overthink the breathing element. So I think if you just get in, relax, think about that slow breath, but not overthink it too much. Tim, this next one is one I'm probably most guilty of, so I'm really intrigued to hear your advice on this one, but is dropped elbow. So my elbow is dropping below my wrist in the pulling phase of the stroke. What do I do about that?
Oh, there's so many ways we can improve that. And you're right, it is the power phase of the stroke. As your hand comes into the water, if your elbow's dropped, you can see I'm pushing to the bottom of the pool. So all that energy, all of that muscle, it's just pushing down, pushing you up. And again, that's pushing your upper body up, your lower body therefore is going down. So the ideal is you come in and then you call it a catch. So look how high the elbow is. And now you're pushing all the water backwards. And you can see as the water goes backwards, you go forward. So that is really important to have that high elbow in front of your stroke, that power phase of the stroke.
So making that change will definitely mean I'll go a bit faster. What would you say are the drills that I can incorporate to kind of change that? Because I'm in such a habit of that is kind of my swim stroke now, and it's hard to make those changes, isn't it?
It's really hard. I find with every drill I do, we have to exaggerate. So one of the things I would do is I would almost think you've got a big barrel, and you're trying to roll your tummy over it like that. Okay. So as your hand goes in, you really want to think that you're kind of like that, because it won't be as exaggerated in the water. Another drill is we call it scullying. Yeah. So it's where you're maybe have some fins on as well, and you're laying and you do just a gentle flutter kick, and you're just moving your hands in a figure of 8. But instead of moving them like this, you bend your elbow and you move them like this. So it's practicing engaging those muscles, but with this nice bent elbow. When you start to feel a change initially, you'll probably get some sore muscles because you'll be activating your lats a lot more. And the water, funnily enough, might feel heavy. That's because you're really grabbing it and moving that water. And that means that the drills are working. Doesn't happen overnight. It's something you have to do consistency a little bit and often.
And when you're working on these drills that are specifically looking at your elbows, your arms, feel free to put a pull buoy between the legs so you can take away the worrying about your legs and just focus on changing the arms.
It's not about going fast. There are no medals in training. This is about changing your technique, making you a more technically efficient swimmer. So when it goes to swimming fast, you're holding on to as much of these changes as possible. So I'm a big believer in fins, in pull buoys, and don't just do, 20 minutes of drills and then say, right, I've done my drills. Just maybe do 3 times one length of a drill and then do some full stroke. So you're trying to implement the drill, the aspect that you're learning on. Here, it's that high elbow into full stroke. Because there's no point being the king of drills. You have to be able to transfer it to race day.
Another common swim mistake we see is kicking too much. This, as far as I'm aware, can cause a bit of fatigue, it can slow you down, it can change your body positioning. What's your thoughts on kicking too much?
If I kick too much, my heart rate goes through the roof and then I'm totally gone. Yeah. For me, kicking is definitely used for balancing your stroke out. Forward propulsion, most of it comes from your arms, your upper body in a triathlon race. But you do need to kick, and having an efficient kick is really important.
And what does an efficient kick look like?
So most people kick from the knee, which you're just not utilising all the muscles in your leg. You really want to drive the kick from your hips. So you're then really getting your hips involved, your glutes and your quads. And you don't want to kick a lot. As I say, you just want almost like a flutter kick, just to help with your body position. Most of the power does come from the upper body and the arms. And in most races, we are wearing a wetsuit, so that is helping the buoyancy.
And there are some kicking drills which are pretty simple. You are literally just doing lengths of kick. You can use a kickboard to help float. You can do them on the side. All of these drills are going to help with that.
Absolutely. I definitely think, as much as it can be quite tedious to do kicking in the pool, it is definitely worth adding a couple of 100 meters kick within your set. But again, definitely kicking on your back, stretched out like this, maybe kicking on our side. Again, make sure our ear is on our shoulder. Just kick in. Maybe you could kick for 5 seconds and then do a stroke and pull. As opposed to, getting lazy, just have your hands over, chatting to your friend, just kicking. It is worth really focusing on the dynamic drill of kicking.
And am I right in thinking towards the end of the swim in a triathlon, it's worth picking up the kick a bit to almost flush some blood down to the legs, ready for us to get out onto the bike?
100%. If you watch most professionals racing, even the athletes who are racing the Ironman, the last 50 to 100 meters, they do increase their kick. Because they've been in that prone position with all the blood in their upper body working, when they stand up, they get a bit lightheaded, you know, jelly-legged. So you can alleviate that. You can really put that off by kicking your legs that little bit harder. So again, that's why it is important to practice your kick. You need it at the beginning to get out of the melee, the hustle and bustle of the open water start, and then at the end as well.
The next one we're going to talk about is excessive head movement. Now, I think this can mean coming up and out the water, side to side, bobbing the head around, which naturally means the legs are going to be sinking again, which we spoke about earlier in the video. So why is excessive head movement a problem, and how can we stop it?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, the head is the rudder. So if that moves, if it moves from side to side, then your body starts to move, and then you become like a crocodile. And every time you go like that, your hips are like an anchor slowing you down. I think when we get overconfident, when we really try to go fast, we just start thrashing, and then we just start to use every muscle in our body. Again, it's a technique sport, so keeping your head still, letting the arms, nice high reach, long reach, but look, my head's hardly moving, and when it does move, it moves in line. I'm breathing now, so it really is important to keep that head still. It's just wasted energy, and there are quite a few reasons, open water, where you do actually need to get your head up and look around, but then you need to get back so you can see where you're going, but then you need to get your head back in and focus on that head position again.
Well, I know just from doing sighting drills, a full length of head out the water doing a sighting drill, I'm gasping for air, I feel like I'm drowning, so that definitely kind of reinforces that you need to get that head in line and everything else will fall into place.
Absolutely, and I think the sighting drills are good, but having your head up out the water is one thing, but when you're racing, you really have to focus on the buoy or the swim exit, or maybe the boat that you're swimming to. And often in the swimming pool, we're just kind of like doing this. I think it's important when you do that drill is you focus on something. When I was younger, one of the coaches would hold fingers up, and after the 4 lengths, he'd say, how many fingers did I have up at the end of the first length? How many at the second? Wow. So you're not just swimming, you're trying to put it together and focus as well.
Rotation or lack of or too much twisting is another common thing that we see often in swimming. We've talked about a lot of different issues, and a lot of them kind of come back to that body positioning, head, and everything seems to tie in together. So why is getting that rotation right so important?
Because it is the foundation of your swimming. As you said, your kicking, your catch, your head position, they all come together with rotation. When we see a yacht sailing fast, it doesn't sail flat, it stays on its keel at an angle. So when you're swimming, you don't want to swim like this. You want to swim, and can you see if I'm reaching my hands there, but as I rotate, I have more reach, I can activate my lats, and I can really pull lat power. So rotation is important. The other thing with rotation is as you rotate, you don't want to twist your shoulders and leave your hips square. You want to think that your hips and your shoulders are connected. So as you turn, your whole body turns as well. It's really important.
And are there any drills that we can do to help with rotation?
I think a great drill for that is actually a kicking drill. So you kick on your side with your elbow on your shoulder, and you kick, 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 and then when you need to breathe, you turn, and you really hold that position, and you glide, 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 and then you kick again, and you turn. That is a really, really good rotation drill. The other one is one-armed freestyle, single-arm freestyle. And there's 2 ways you can do that, as I think you know as well. The easy way, which is one arm in front, and then you kind of paddle. And again, if you look at my body, it's opening and then closing. And then the next stage for that is you have this arm by your side, and as you're swimming, but you breathe this side, and that's hard because you don't have this arm coming over, so you really have to drive that hip, and as you drive that hip down, your shoulder has to come with you, and then you turn as well.
I tried this recently, and it really highlighted to me the fact that I am clearly rotating fine on one side and not so much the other side, and it was really eye-opening. So now I know I really need to put emphasis on my weaknesses, which is one side.
And I think that probably is the stronger side you breathe to, because your body's used to moving that. So that's another reason to maybe try breathing bilaterally to your left and to your right. And when you do these drills, you don't go particularly fast, so your body position, your hips will drop, and therefore your legs will drop. You can use a pull buoy or fins as well, because it doesn't matter how quick you go, you just want to have the best for that drill.
It's become really clear throughout all these common mistakes, we call them, but remember, everyone makes them, that they're all kind of interlinked, and it's almost like if we fix one, it's going to help something else, or every drill almost helps everything at the same time as well. Now, I'm curious, how much of these drills and things to focus on technique should I be putting into my average swim week? So if I'm trying to swim 2 to 3 times a week, should I just be doing one session with a few drills, or should I be doing some drills in every session?
I'm a big believer of doing some drills in every session, because at the end of the day, we don't want to do drills for the sake of doing them. We want the good habits from the drills to transfer to our full stroke. So I would recommend doing the warm-up, and then you do a drill set, and then you go on to do your hard swimming. But again, when you're doing your drills, don't just do 10 lengths, 20 lengths of a drill, do 3 or 4 lengths and then do a lengthful stroke trying to implement that drill, whether it is your single arm, your kick in, your high elbow, scullying, try and implement that into your full stroke. And don't try and connect your head position, your body rotation, your high elbow, your kick in all at once. Just focus maybe on 2 drills a session, and then next time you swim, 2 different drills. Because Rome wasn't built in the day. This is not an overnight fix. This is going to take consistent hard work and effort by everyone out there.
Just to reiterate, we've called this video mistakes, but these are things that pretty much everyone needs to work on at some point, and still consistently needs to work on. Swimming is about consistency. So we hope you found this useful. If you've got any other tips or tricks that you'd like us to explain or go through, let us know in the comments. We'd love to make some videos on that, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.